I'm Laura from Garden Sanity, and in this video I'm going to talk about how I use chicken wire cloches, like this one, to protect my plants from rabbits. Rabbits devoured my plants last winter, and I don't want the same thing happening again this year. I'm going to show you the dimensions and explain what the cloches actually look like. Then I'm going to show you how they look in the garden protecting my plants. I'll talk about my opinions, not so much pros and cons, but my opinions of these cloches so far. And then I'll talk about the cost, because that's important too. So let's get started. So last year I shared with you in a video all of the damage the rabbits did throughout my gardens. From the base of my burning bush to the base of my knockout roses, these pandemic rabbits ate everything. And I called them pandemic rabbits for two reasons. One, because of the pandemic, and two, rabbits have always been around the gardens, but until the pandemic, they never seemed to be doing this much damage. I mean, it was really crazy. So the worst damage was suffered by my yuccas. Yuccas are poisonous to rabbits. They devoured 2 of my yuccas. Crazy. I also planted drift roses in the springtime, and they devoured those, thorny stems and all. It was completely bizarre. So this year I decided I'm going to do something different. I'm going to try to protect them, spend a little money, and I bought chicken wire cloches with extensions in some cases to make them larger, like this one is. This is an extension, and then it gets a little larger, and I'll explain all that in a minute. But I decided I would try those. Now, I bought these from Gardener Supply Company. I have absolutely no relationship with them. They don't know I'm doing this video. It's not sponsored. This is just me personally buying something, trying it out, letting you see how it's working, and giving you my opinions. So to start, here is one of the cloches I'm using to protect my tiny Amsonia stormcloud seedling from rabbits and even squirrels who like digging in this bed. Amsonia stormcloud is not a favorite with rabbits, but I've already seen this seedling dug out of its planting hole a few times now, so I tucked it back in and I added this chicken wire cloche. This is a cloche with an extension added to the bottom of it. This is one of the chicken wire cloches, without the extension, that I purchased from Gardener Supply. The cloche is 16 inches diameter at the very bottom and 12.5 inches tall. It's bell-shaped, so the diameter decreases as you go up to the top. It has a nice ring on the top of it, both useful and decorative at the same time. Now here is the same cloche, but with an extension added to the bottom, which makes the total dimensions of this larger cloche 21 5/8 inches diameter and 18 inches tall. These are made from galvanized steel, and they're lightweight. The supports that shape the chicken wire may have a painted coating on them. At least it looks that way to me. And the extension comes with 3 hooks, like you see here, that attach to the smaller cloche. The problem I found was that I could not easily attach all 3 of the hooks. I'd attach 2 of them, and then the third one just wouldn't fit. I called Gardener Supply's customer service, and they were truly helpful and told me that no, I'm not crazy, and I'd need to bend those hooks to make them fit properly. So using pliers, and my husband using those pliers, I now have these secured. I'm using these as protection from rabbits, and having the top and bottom attached together is important to me. I don't think rabbits can use pliers, although these pandemic rabbits, as I've been calling them, are indeed pretty crafty. To secure these cloches to the ground, I use 6-inch earth staples, also purchased from Gardener Supply. These are made from galvanized steel wire and are really sturdy. You can get these earth staples in 2 sizes, 6 inches or 10 inches. And they also have a 6-inch version with a loop on the end to help you remove them easily. These staples come 15 in a package. I'll share the prices of everything shortly, but first I want to show you how these cloches are working in my front yard garden beds. This is Wallace, and he's a stuffed bunny. Because he's stuffed, he has no interest in eating my plants. He's a good bunny and agreed to help me out in this video. So last year, the pandemic rabbits ate my black-eyed Susans down to the ground. The ones that recovered and grew back were surrounded by perennial ageratum, which rabbits hate. Aren't these pretty? The ageratum blooms just as the black-eyed Susans are finishing up, so it's a combination I love. Using the small cloche without the extension is perfect to keep rabbits out, as Wallace nicely demonstrates here. My black-eyed Susans are safe. The pandemic rabbits devoured this yucca plant last winter, and yuccas are poisonous to rabbits. It surprisingly grew back into a respectable-looking yucca during the summer. Isn't this pretty? Since I don't want a repeat of last winter, I'm using a cloche with the extension to protect the yucca, plus 2 more cloches to protect the drift roses next to it. Once the January snow melted, I did see some nibblings by the rabbits. Cloches to the rescue! First off, make sure you use heavy-duty gloves, like rose pruning gloves, when handling thorny or sharp-edged plants like yuccas and roses. Trying to wrangle the yucca plant leaves into the cloche was not easy, and it almost turned comical as the leaves would keep popping out just as I tucked one section inside. But I got it done, and even though there's a few leaves sticking out and they could be eaten up by the rabbits, the majority of this plant is safe, and that's a huge improvement to me. This is the other large yucca in the same bed, and it's way too large for one of these cloches, even with the extension. It was barely touched last year, so I don't know if I'm setting it up for failure by protecting only the other yucca. I am sprinkling Repels-All everywhere, and I'll cover what rabbit repellents I'm spraying and sprinkling around my garden beds in an upcoming video. Last winter was horrible for this color guard yucca in our backyard, and it seemed like the rabbits attacked it overnight. One morning, we looked out of the window to see the plant looking like this. I almost cried. But this yucca also grew back, and now it's covered with a cloche plus extension. Wallace the bunny is showing you how the pandemic rabbits could still munch on the ends of the plant, but the majority is nicely protected. Yes, I left the yucca leaf ends sticking out, as they were much stiffer to work with versus the yucca I wrestled with in the front yard. Plus, somehow it all just worked, as I was able to easily move the cloches around to get the leaves to cooperate. I actually think it looks pretty cool. Again, I'm using additional rabbit repellents around the plant as well. Wallace is leaning on one of the smaller cloches I'm using to protect my peach drift roses. Within days of planting the drift roses last spring, the pandemic rabbits ate them down to the ground, thorns and all, and I was shocked. But they also grew back, thankfully, so I'm trying to protect them this year with these cloches. I say trying because I had to prune off a few of the taller stems to make these fit, and it wasn't easy trying to squish those thorny stems into the cloches. The earth staples I mentioned, I used 3 of them per cloche, whether or not an extension was attached. Just stick them into the ground as far as they will go. These cloches are really secure to the ground, so even if a team of rabbits wants to join forces to push one of these over, they won't be able to do it. Here's how all 3 cloches look together. For areas around the cloches, I'm using Repels-All now that I see the rabbits are back. So here's my overall impressions and opinions about these garden cloches. The first thing I would say is that I wish there were directions for these little hooks that needed to be bent. I didn't know that they needed to be bent. Like I said, I called customer service, which they are phenomenal. They are staffed by gardeners and they really know what they're talking about, so it's really good. However, I thought I was a little nuts trying to figure it out for quite some time before I called them. So directions would have helped. I might be in the minority. Maybe there are a lot of people that figured it out easily. I did not. So that's one thing. I think the cloches with and without the extensions offer the best protection for smaller plants, like this Amsonia that's right here that you can barely see in here, or some small vegetables, things like that. I think because of the bell shape and because it narrows at the top, I think it just makes it a little bit harder for plants that grow opposite to that maybe grow out in a vase shape. Now, Gardener Supply does offer several different types of chicken wire protection. They even have very large ones that are a little bit cost prohibitive for me, but they have very large ones that can protect your shrubs. But in terms of for this smaller size, I wish 2 things. I wish 1, it was a little bit wider of a bell shape. 2, I wish they could make a, I don't know, inverted bell shape almost, something that somehow maybe would close. You could, oh, that would be a good idea, right? You could open it and close it around a shrub or a plant, a small one. And the third thing is, I would love to see just the small cloche in an even smaller size. Now, again, like I said, they have different types on their website. They do have one that would be perfect for 3 plants in a row. But that's just my opinions on the shape and size of these and what plants they fit. So now I want to talk about pricing. And I have notes here because I am awful with numbers, especially memorizing. I purchased 6 of these cloches. I purchased 3 of just the small size cloche, and then I purchased 3 of the cloche with the extension that then I had to attach. The small cloches, just this part, are $24.95 each, but if you buy 3 or more, like I did, it's $22 each. With the extension, if you were to buy the cloche and the extension together as a set, it's $42.95 each. But if you buy 3 or more, like I did, it's $38.50 each. And again, these prices are as of the date of this video. Extensions are also sold separately on their website, which is also a nice thing. If you already bought these and then you want to expand, you can do that too. I also bought these 6-inch earth staples. And like I said earlier, they come in different sizes. I bought the 6-inch, which are fairly long and did the job. And these are $9.95 for 15 in a package. I ended up buying 2 packages to have some leftover. I used 3 of these per cloche, whether it was a large or small size. I think I might have mentioned that earlier, just mentioning it again just to be on the safe side. So what's also super helpful is if you sign up for emails, you're going to be the first to know about any sales they're doing, any discounts they're doing. Sometimes they do free shipping, and that's exactly what I did, and that's how I was able to also save some money, as I got free shipping with mine. And it does make a difference, trust me. These come in big boxes. So it might seem like these are very expensive. They might not seem so expensive if you think of the lifetime of the cost. The fact that I'm going to have these for such a long time, to me, that is built into the cost. Plus, I don't have to repurchase plants that are going to be devoured by rabbits. That's what I have to do in some cases. You know, you lose a plant, what do you want to do? If you like the plant a lot, you want to keep it, and then you have to spend more money on it. So this way, I'm not spending any more money. I like that about this. And one final thing I want to mention, I'm using these for rabbits outdoors. And in this case, rabbits and squirrels and anything else that's digging in this bed. But a lot of gardeners also purchase these as decorative elements for the garden. These, the small ones especially, fit beautifully over urns or pots, and they accent your plants, or they can protect your plants indoors. Some gardeners use these to protect houseplants from their pets, just to keep everybody safe. And you could also use these decoratively as well. You could use these indoors, say over a tray, have something decorative underneath it. Easter's coming up, maybe a nice display of eggs with this over it. Maybe put a ribbon through this nice little ring here. They look really pretty. So there's lots of ways to use these. I'm going with this right now. My goal in using these cloches is to protect my plants this winter, when the rabbits seem to do the most damage in my gardens, so that my husband and I can enjoy everything else in the spring, summer, and fall. Stay tuned for more ways I'm trying to protect my gardens from rabbits, including rabbit repellents, plants rabbits hate, and more. And until then, happy gardening.